Hi, welcome to this week's Talking About Success. I'm your host, Jack Canfield. I have a very fascinating guest tonight, Cindy Watson. She is for lack of a better term, a women's empowerment advocate, trainer, author, workshop leader, coach, amazing, does all this wonderful work. And she's the founder of Woman on Purpose and the creator of a powerful program and book called The Art of Feminine Negotiation. And you have been negotiating all kinds of great stuff for years.
I have.
You worked with unions and all that, and you went to law school, and you're just incredibly... You've been teaching negotiation and negotiating for how many years, would you say?
30 years.
30 years, so you know what you're talking about.
I know, yes, picked up a thing or two.
Yes, you do. But now you've revectored your career and your efforts toward really empowering women, and one of the main things with that is teaching them how to negotiate effectively.
Yeah.
So what put you on that mission?
Yeah, I think I've been a social justice lawyer, as you know, for 30 years, and my specialty was dealing with trade unions. So I've always sort of been an advocate in a male-dominated practice of law and a male-dominated area within that practice dealing with almost exclusively sort of male clients. And so over the years, obviously, dealt with a lot of attempts to bully or intimidate or sort of sexualize or just dismiss me. So really had to sort of step into your power to just be heard and get what you want. But at some point along the way in doing that, like after 30 years of practice, I got a reputation for being a barracuda, right? And my clients loved it, obviously. But, you know, after doing that for years, you start not necessarily loving who you are anymore. And it's not, when you're not negotiating from a place of sort of authentic, natural sort of power intuition. And it made me, I had an incident with my son, you know, prior to going on this mission, where at one point he was just, I could see his frustration. I thought we're just having a discussion. And he's like, for God's sake, Mom, does every discussion with you have to be an argument that you win? He kind of threw his things down. It was kind of took me back a bit, like, you know, looking in the mirror, and I thought, I don't want to be that person anymore. And I remembered back to a negotiation course that I'd taken in law school where we effectively had to negotiate for our marks, which I didn't know, or I probably wouldn't have taken the course, to be honest. But the entire year was like a series of simulated negotiations. And your mark was whoever got the highest mark, the highest negotiated settlement got the highest mark. And in law school, where it's already competitive enough by the end, and I just... You know, I thought I was lucky at the time. I won virtually every simulated negotiation, which got harder as the year went on and people came gunning. But it wasn't until years later when I had this sort of incident with my son that I thought, you know what? Back then, I was a really good negotiator intuitively, coming from my natural, like I was, in those negotiations, I wasn't trying to bust people, you know, open and get the last. I was like, what do you need? We've only got an hour, you know, and it was all about rapport building and trusting my intuition and all of those typically feminine traits. So I really felt passionate about helping women who seem to be losing so much ground now and not stepping into their power in negotiations.
So what do you feel is so important about making sure women learn to negotiate?
Great question. I think when you look at it, really all of life is a negotiation. Like it's just, and so to be able to live effectively into your full power, probably negotiation, not to overstate it, but probably one of the single most important skills you're ever going to learn. Like every day in whether our relationships or you're negotiating with your kids, with your partner, with your coworkers, you know, and with your boss or with your employees, depending. And heck, we negotiate with ourselves 100 times a day. So being able to step into that to be really effective is probably one of the single most important skills for a woman to master.
Mm-hmm. Now, you say there's some common beliefs about women in negotiation that are not true.
Yes,
what are those?
Definitely. Well, I think, you know, not the least of it is there's this commonly held belief that women aren't effective negotiators. And that's not just men who hold that belief. Women are the worst offenders. I mean, we have a whole bunch of conditioning that makes women buy into this myth that they're not effective negotiators. And it holds them back. It becomes debilitating. And it's simply not true. When you look at all of the benchmarks, all of the factors, the skill set that's required to be an effective negotiator, whether it's flexibility or intuition or rapport building, trust, all of those kinds of factors, the list goes on. And you rank them. And not to, I don't necessarily love this feminine versus masculine, but I mean, there are certain characteristics that are typically male and female. And, you know, it doesn't apply to everybody, but on every one of those, when you go down the list, with the possible exception of assertiveness, women actually would rank higher consistently on the skills that you need to be a really effective negotiator. And even on assertiveness, you know, when women are advocating for themselves, admittedly, they tend to be less assertive than men. But you have a woman negotiating on behalf, advocating for somebody else, her kid, or somebody that they care about, or even somebody they don't know, a cause they believe in. Women will be incredibly assertive when they're advocating for somebody other than themselves. So we have the skill to do it. It's just a matter of believing in themselves to be able to step forward.
To do it for themselves.
Absolutely.
Good. Now, I understand you have a book coming out on the subject. Tell us about the book.
Yes, and you'd mentioned at the beginning, the book's called The Art of Feminine Negotiation, with the tagline, How to Get What You Want from the Boardroom to the Bedroom. And the idea is exactly that whether it's from your professional life to your personal life, every aspect, learning how to negotiate effectively. So part of the book is talking a little bit about helping women overcome some of those beliefs that have held us back, that conditioning that makes us second guess ourselves or women negotiate all the time, but they don't call it negotiation. Like in your personal relationships, they mediate disputes between their kids or between people. That's a form of negotiation. But so part of it is getting women to recognize how they're already negotiating incredibly successfully in so many areas of their life, but not considering it to be negotiation. So then they get nervous when they have to. So helping them overcome those limiting beliefs, a little confidence boosting, letting them recognize areas where they're already negotiating, and then a little bit more concrete, sort of talking about the theories of negotiation, but also some real hands-on practical tips on how to negotiate, like learning the actual foundational skills that are going to make you a better negotiator.
I'm curious, what do you think the cost of not knowing these skills and techniques are?
Oh, it's literally millions of dollars over a lifetime. I mean, men are at least 60% more likely to be asking for, right out of the gate, when people get out for their very first jobs, men are much more likely, 60% or more of men will ask for a higher salary than what they initially get offered, whereas only 7% of women are likely to ask. And even of that rarefied 7% who will ask, most of them will still have lower expectations than a male. So when you add up just in terms of salary over your lifetime, lost opportunities over your lifetime, women are so afraid, I think, there's this sort of built-in fear of rejection or failure, fear of hearing the word no, that we end up not asking. And if you add up all of the opportunities that women lose throughout their lives, both personally and professionally, by simply not asking, by trusting in themselves, I mean, some of it's priceless, like irreplaceable.
You have a program also, not just a book, but a program.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It's something, as you could probably tell, I feel pretty passionately about it.
I can tell.
So, for me, I've got the book, and I've also got some online programs for women, and that's sort of at your lower cost point, so that women can go online, get access to the program. There's complimentary workbooks and exercises, so they can go through it at their own pace or otherwise. But I also offer group coaching, and I love that. There's a really great dynamic, and you can be from anywhere because we do those calls through Zoom. So anybody can come in and be part of that group coaching. For people who want sort of a higher end, really in-depth, sort of fast track, I also offer one-on-one coaching. I do some corporate speaking and corporate sort of workshopping as well for in that environment. Super powerful, whether it's for sales teams or just building corporate morale or having that confidence in the workplace to let, it's established when you have women on teams, there's better negotiated deals, there's better results because women come with a different perspective. And when men are able to trust having a woman on the team and trust their intuition, they just get better results all around. But one of my favorites is doing the live retreats. I just love getting an intimate group of women together where they're away from home, away from all that worry and stress. And there's this chemistry that happens when you get women together and when you're teaching all of these principles. It just 10x's the ability to have them step outside of those limiting beliefs and conditioning, because in that environment, they're helping to lift each other up. And it's just such a beautiful thing to watch when that happens, when women blossom into their full confidence and walk away from that retreat ready to tackle the world. It's such a thrill for me as a coach to see that happen.
I can tell. So I just asked you a question about, you have done these workshops before, these retreats. Can you share a success story with us? Someone that's gone through a workshop or you've trained and they've come back to you and said, because of this, I now
Yeah, no, I'd love to. I mean, obviously there's a few, but one that really stands out for me, there was a woman who had come and you could tell she had just been beaten down. She'd been subject to some quite severe sexual harassment at work over a long period of time. Because as so many women do, she sort of did, go along to get along. And she kept not raising it and just talking to the supervisor in question. And it escalated. And he was sending quite severe pornographic material to her home address. Wow. And this had gone on for years, and then it started escalating where he was getting a little more vocal in the workplace in front of her peers. And the final straw for her was when he had done it over the open airways. It was a public transit system. And he had called her an Irish skank over the airways. So everybody in the entire organization heard it. And she came and she was just broken, and she didn't get support. It was a male-dominated workplace. And she just came away feeling, you couldn't believe the difference watching her, where she just had the confidence in herself again. And you could see that pride being instilled and coming back. And that sense that she had the ability to really step into her power. And very shortly after we had worked together, the next time I ended up speaking to her, she was the vice president of their organization. And she'd gone for, it was so gorgeous to see. And you could barely recognize her. She was just this gorgeous redhead who had been kind of the smaller version of herself. And boy, she stepped into her power in every way. It was just a beautiful thing to see.
Good for you. And I know you have this organization, Empower. What is it? Women on Purpose.
Yes.
Which is the overall umbrella with all of your work. And she was now a woman on purpose.
Absolutely, which you love to see.
Very good, very good, very good. So if people want to find out more about your seminars, your workshops, your consulting, your speaking, your book, where do they go?
Well, I would invite them to check out my webpage at womenonpurpose.ca. And also, please feel free to join our Facebook group. We've got a gorgeous, vibrant community of women, and you can go to facebook.com/womenonpurpose community. Love to see you there.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
You are a wonderful addition to the world.
No,
my friend.
thank you, Jack.
All right. Well, you know where to go now, and you can become a woman on purpose and someone who knows how to negotiate to get more of what you want, and also negotiate to get things out of your life like you just heard there. So go to her website, check it out, and take advantage of her services. And then stick around. We have one more guest tonight, and we'll be right back after this message.